far would you go to take Maduro out of office?
I don't want to say that,
But you want to see him out?
his days are numbered.
Can you rule out an American ground invasion?
I don't want to rule in or out. I don't talk about it.
Would you consider doing something similar with Mexico and Colombia that are even more responsible for fentanyl trafficking into the U.S.?
Sure, I would.
Este fue un operativo conjunto entre el FBI, el Departamento de Seguridad Nacional, la Guardia Costera y con el apoyo del Departamento de Guerra. Y buscó frenar esta embarcación que traía una bandera falsa, es decir, que no pertenece a ese país al que traía la bandera. Y además, como podemos ver en estas imágenes divulgadas por el propio Departamento de Justicia, que vemos a los oficiales del Departamento de Guerra abordando esta embarcación. Esto ocurrió muy cerca a aguas territoriales de Venezuela. Esta embarcación presumiblemente iba para Cuba con el objetivo de posteriormente comercializar este petróleo en varias partes del mundo, específicamente Asia, y además era una embarcación que estaba siendo buscada por el gobierno estadounidense desde hace un largo tiempo. Pero ahora escuchemos cómo fue el propio presidente Trump quien dio a conocer esta información.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
In the seizure of this tanker, what happens to the oil on this ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
News for the Venezuelans who have been waiting for years to be liberated, and very good news for the American economy, which I'll explain to you why this is a #1 goal for this administration from the economic standpoint.
But there are some Americans. I mean, I would love to see a change in government. My wife's from Nicaragua. We know how terribly the dictators there rely on Venezuelan oil. But at the same time, a lot of Americans don't want actual U.S. participation in regime change in Venezuela. They would much prefer the Venezuelans to do it on their own. Do you think the pressure that Maduro has received will force him to leave on his own?
Oh, I think Maduro is not Fidel Castro. Maduro is not a brave boy. So now that he has understood that he's on that very nefarious list of the terrorist organization, that the airspace above Venezuela has been closed off and the commercial airlines from the United States are not flying, he's understanding that we're about to go in. He understands that he has been our enemy for the last 25 years. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, for three reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs, and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or everything that has to do with oil and the derivatives. Number two, Venezuela has been the launching pad, the hub for our enemies, the Iranian, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Cubans, the Nicaraguans, people that hate the United States, and the only thing they want to do is do harm to us and to our young Americans. And number three, he is the head of the Sons Cartel, which is one of the transnational criminal organizations. In 2020, Nicolás Maduro was indicted by a federal grand jury for drug trafficking, and he is the head of the Sons Cartel. So right there, the economy, security, and politically speaking, we're going to be doing a favor to us, to our children, to our economy, to our oil companies, to be able to liberate, and to the Venezuelans, that they do want to be free.
Well, no doubt it's going to be good for Venezuela to be rid of this guy and the regime. But again, you use the phrase, when we go in. What exactly does that mean? I mean, for example, the military in Venezuela, even though they're paid hoodlums for the most part, they still may be willing to fight to hold on to power. I mean, what happens if they don't leave peacefully?
I don't think they're going to, because last year, the Venezuelans under Maria Corina Machado and the opposition forces, they held elections, presidential elections. And those elections reflected and they showed that 80% of the Venezuelans, including the military, voted against the Maduro regime. So we know, we have information that maybe the top echelon of the military forces in Venezuela may be with Maduro, and they're going to flee with him. But the middle and lower ranks are with the opposition. We're talking about that this is going to be very similar to Panama. That I was there, I was a news reporter, and I remember when the Marines were walking in and the Panamanian girls were asking them to marry them. This is going to be a very major success and a success story, not only for them, but for us. Come on, it's time for the United States to do what we need to do. And thank God that Trump is doing it. And I'm telling you that these people, the Venezuelans, have the largest reserves of oil in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We're talking about this is going to be a windfall for us when it comes to fossil fuels.
Well, and again, it's the actual transition that a lot of Americans are a little wary about because of the fact that regime change always has unintended consequences. Getting rid of this regime is it's clear it's going to be good for Americans. And the main thing we talked about at the beginning is the rest of Latin America. So we could see a very free market oriented entire Latin American continent beneath us, and that would be a boon for the United States.
People talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only involved in drug trafficking, but in human trafficking, in networks of prostitution. So this has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. And what sustained the regime is a very powerful and funded, strongly funded repression system. Where does that funds come from? Well, from drug trafficking, from the black market of oil, from arms trafficking, for human trafficking. We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over, because that's the only thing the regime has left.
Pero siempre tenemos que estar como guerreros, como guerreras, con un ojo pelado y el otro también, y preparados para partirle los dientes al imperio norteamericano si hiciera falta desde la patria de Bolívar. A los ciudadanos estadounidenses que están contra la guerra, les contesto una canción muy famosa. Don't worry, be happy. La 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 la.